Welcome back to the Intelliversity interview of Ned McMahon and David Saltman, the founder and the CEO, respectively, of Malama Composites. I'd like to take a minute to 30 seconds each to review your professional background. What happened in your life before you got here?
Well, I always had an exceedingly high interest in boats and surfing. Studied naval architecture in college and then went on to make surfboards. Spent about 25 years and 35,000 boards later. Became the director of marketing for a well-known surf company in Hawaii. Went around the world for them, not only shaping but doing marketing and trademark and licensing work. Decided to move back to the mainland here in the late 90s and went to work with another company as the Senior VP of Sales and Marketing and also doing distribution and trademark licensing work. And so here we are.
Well, at some point, Ned, there must have been a trigger. I know you've been innovative in the shaping of surfboards and materials all your career. But there must have been a point where something went off in you, where the fire in your belly became a bonfire. And you said, not enough, I'm going to make a real difference. What happened that triggered that change in you? That innovator's midlife crisis is what I call it.
Well, there was a company here in California called Clark Foam. They were the largest global distributor of polyurethane foam into the surfboard market. And they had such a control of that market that it was virtually impossible for anybody to start making foam here. They sort of, to the surprise of everyone in the industry, closed their doors in December of '05, very suddenly, because of EPA issues, OSHA issues, and probably some personal reasons on the part of the owner. And that company put modern surfboard making on the map, gave us the tools to be able to make surfboards the way we do today. When they closed, they left a huge void, and there was many companies that rushed in to fill that void using the same toxic chemistry that they were doing, and that was the opportunity to actually take a different look at this whole thing and do it differently.
Okay, David?
Well, my background is strange in that I actually began in the entertainment industry. I'm a Southern California kid, grew up surfing this coast. My father was a surfer at San Onofre, one of the early members, and I graduated UCLA Film School and wrote and produced and directed, and eventually came back from New York to launch E-Entertainment. So 4 of us, plus a secretary and a dog in a room, created the E channel, and we sold that to Time Warner during their merger a year later. And that kind of afforded me the ability to really leave that industry behind. And so I had been running Surfrider Foundation. I was its executive director. We had won the largest Clean Water Act lawsuit in American history against big pulp mills in Northern California. It was an incredible experience. I was loving doing the environmental work and wanted to see if that could also be not just a charity but a business. And so we formed our first company, which was a honeycomb material made out of recycled fiber. We then launched a natural fiber composites business for the auto industry, which is in 40 or 50 million cars now. And I, after that, ran a public solar company. So I'd been a CEO of a public company and had all that experience and all that gray-haired grief. And really was an entrepreneur in residence when Ned and I met and decided that this opportunity was a big opportunity.
So how did you two meet?
Well, as I was struggling to get this business off the ground, as I mentioned, there was certain things I did really well, certain things I was certainly lacking in. I was fortunate enough to get hooked up with the Connect program, and which is sort of a business incubator that's part of UCSD. I think you can probably speak to that a little bit better. And David was an entrepreneur in residence, where they assign you various entrepreneurs in residence to help with different aspects of your business. So we met, and
the rest is history.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the rare cases where Connect really lives up to its name, I think, in this case.
Yeah,
So
maybe
you-
not so rare. I mean,
You moved from EIR advisor to investor to CEO
Right.
of this company aggressively over a period of
Yeah, I was suckered in. That's exactly right.
So that leads to the question of, what triggered your desire? I think that you indicated it was progressive, but what triggered your desire to make the jump from, look personally, this is for you, David, to make the jump from investor and advisor to actually running the company? See if you can get down to what triggered that for you.
Well, I mean, I think you have to be passionate about whatever you do, and I think to be good at anything. And this is certainly an area of sustainable materials that is part of my life. So there's almost no separation between my work, my play, and my life. This is actually what I would be doing if it had no financial benefit. But I think very important to me is that Ned was a person who was not only a creative inventor and had taken a lot of arrows in the back as being way out in front of a pack, but also had tremendous integrity. And so, you know, everything about what he was doing came from a very honest and dedicated place and a disciplined place. For me, that's someone that I can go into battle with. I can really, because, you know, when you go up against petroleum-based materials in commodity markets, this is all very nice and very green, but you better have your head screwed on straight, and you better have good performance numbers, and you better be making a quality material within an ISO 9000 environment. And so that's really where I think we got along. It's on a very fundamental basis. And the culture of the place is, I think we never had any disagreement about what kind of cultural environment we wanted to work in. And as a result, we're attracting those types of people to this business.
Interesting. We'll get to the culture issue in just a moment. I'm interested in hearing from Ned now on the same question, because you've already identified it. What enabled you to trust David? Because after all, this was your baby, and you're handing it to another man and saying, let's go into battle together. And I'm trusting you to be my back. So,
Well,
how'd that happen for you?
I actually knew from the beginning when I started this that I couldn't do it all myself. I'm not sure what I couldn't do, but I knew I couldn't do it all. I'm really fortunate that the guys that started with me, the two guys that I started this company with, still work here. So, and we went through some really lean times. In that process of going through really lean times, other people came, promised the world, didn't do anything, and I perhaps was too trusting in that process and you know, paid the price a couple of times.
All right.
But when I met David, not only did he do what he said he was going to do, but again, I think it was that circle of friends that we had in common that, you know, David sort of could run who I was by one of his friends, and they'd go, oh yeah, Ned was a good guy, and I could do the same thing very easily. And then I think there was a pretty much almost immediate trust and camaraderie that we two developed right off the bat.
Okay. So how did has that trust been tested at any point, and how did you resolve that issue?
Well, I mean, I'll speak to that a little bit. You know, one of the things you have to do as a CEO, if you really want to build a big company, is you really have to make sure that your foundation is properly laid. And that has a lot to do with the legal foundation. It has to do with taking care of past partners. It has to do with any baggage that may come along. And I don't feel comfortable going out to an outside investment community or strategic partners or even to big customers, industrial customers, until you've sort of done your own house-cleaning foundation. And that was this last year, and I think it was a difficult time, not just for me, but for Ned. Maybe more challenging for Ned, where, you know, you're in the middle of something and you go, do we really have to go through this pain? And I've found that the best way forward is often going through. You have a tendency when people go around or they try to let the past go organically, it has a tendency to come back and bite you. So we really did a lot of that work, and I think in that, Ned realized where my intentions were and where my integrity lied, and in a certain way some skill sets, where he gets to be the good guy, I just have to be a little tougher.
So how did this test your trust in David?
Well, like I said, we spent a few years struggling with virtually no money to, keep the doors open, lights on, and it was a struggle. So I probably made choices that, weren't the best thing to do in a survival situation, but at the time seemed like my only choice. And David had to come behind and clean it up. And sometimes he was going like, "What the hell are you doing?" Going, "Hey, I was trying to, keep the lights on, keep the machine turning, or whatever." And so, there was some stressful moments, but right now we have passed through that, and our responsibilities are so different that I don't think we're running into where we're butting heads at all. And in fact, we have some new things we're attacking, and I may start part of the conversation and David picks it up, but it's almost seamless in our goals. We both know what we're trying to achieve here.
All right, that's a great segue to the next segment.